The name that vanished from the maps long before European colonial powers altered the world's maps. Long before compasses ruled the world and steel ships conquered the tides of the oceans, the great thinkers of Greece gazed beyond the horizon and spoke of a vast, mysterious ocean called Okeanos Aethiopos, the ocean of the Ethiopians. The southern region of what we now recognize as the Atlantic Ocean was proudly known as the Ethiopian Sea, Mare Ethiopiacum or Oceanus Aethiopicus. In that era, before the arrogance of borders and the cold precision of modern geography, this name shimmered like sunlight on that water. The name was deeply meaningful. It encapsulated the worldview and knowledge of the ancient Greeks and Romans, and later inspired by early European cartographers. To them, Ethiopia was not a single kingdom or nation. It was a vast idea. It was the South, it was the origin, it was the land of dark-skinned beauty and divine fire, home to people who stood beneath the fiercest sun and whose civilizations were older than Greece itself. Stretching across the great expanse of what we now call the South Atlantic Ocean, it was the Okeanos Aethiopos, the ocean of the Ethiopians, a name born in the minds of ancient Greek scholars and carried forward by early European cartographers for generations. In classical antiquity, the Greeks referred to the vast territories south of Egypt as Aethiopia, a land inhabited by people with deep, rich skin tones. The term originates from aetho, to burn, and ops, face, signifying the land of burnt faces. To the Greeks, this southern realm, vibrant and enigmatic, was Ethiopia. Herodotus called it the land of the gods, a place of justice and endurance. In their imagination, Africa was the world's first light, and the Ethiopian Sea was the mirror that reflected it. Centuries later, long after Greece had fallen silent, during the Renaissance, European mapmakers continued to honor that name. Ancient geographers like Ptolemy and Strabo depicted it as part of the Okeanos Aethiopos, the great southern ocean encircling the known world. Maps from the 16th to 18th centuries by renowned cartographers Daniel de la Foye, 1706, Johannes Bleu, 1664, and Guillaume de Lille, 1700s, showcased the southern Atlantic as the Ethiopian Sea. The name itself represented the edge of civilization, filled with mystery, reverence, and legends that stirred the imagination. These maps often placed Africa at the center of the world, radiating ancient dignity and spiritual significance, a profound acknowledgement of Africa as the cradle of humanity and civilization. Daniel de la Foye's maps, intricate, beautiful, and brimming with detail, bore the mark of reverence and mystery. Upon them, the great Atlantic's southern half was boldly labeled Mare Ethiopiacum, the Ethiopian Sea. And he was not mistaken. It was not poetry, it was a memory, a testament to the time when Africa's name was inscribed across oceans, when her story shaped the contours of the world itself. But as centuries turned, something darker began to unfold. As the late 18th and 19th centuries ushered in intensified European colonialism, cartographic language evolved. The age of discovery, that gilded name for conquest, brought not enlightenment but erasure. New empires rose upon the waves, carrying with them more than goods and guns. They carried narratives, and maps, once instruments of wonder, became weapons of control. The name Ethiopian Sea gradually faded, replaced by the imperial name South Atlantic Ocean. Slowly but deliberately, the names that honored the ancient dignity of Africa began to disappear. The Ethiopian Sea became the South Atlantic Ocean. The land of Ethiopia, once representing vast stretches of the continent, was confined, diminished, to a single modern nation. The sacred language of identity was rewritten, line by line, until the past itself was obscured beneath a veil of new terminology. Yet the truth does not vanish. It lingers, in forgotten maps, in old atlases preserved in libraries, in whispers carried by the wind. The ocean still remembers the name it once bore. If you stand on the western shores of Africa, in Senegal, in Angola, in Ghana, and watch the horizon, you can almost hear it in the roar of the waves. For this was not just a body of water. It was a symbol, a reflection of a continent's glory, its spiritual vastness, and its forgotten centrality in human history. Before the lines of empire were drawn, before the names were changed, before history was rewritten, the world once looked southward and called it the Holy. And though maps were manipulated, though ink was used to distort memory, truth endures. It flows beneath the surface like an ancient current, waiting to rise again. For Africa is not defined by the names others gave her, but by the names that still live in the heart of time. The Ethiopian Sea is one such name, a testament that even when erased from paper, it can never be erased from the soul of the earth. As long as the tides continue to move, as long as the sun continues to set over that vast horizon, the sea will whisper its forgotten name, Ethiopian Sea. Here began the story of humankind,